What's going on there, guys? Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Still out here along the west coast. It is the Earthmaster on this finally Friday, June 3rd, 2022 date. It's about 11:20 a.m. California time. Latest quake shows a 1.7 earthquake here on the globe of the California region, where we did see a 3.6 strike into the Elsinore fault system earlier this morning. Let's go ahead and check out the latest data here from the USGS map showing the last 24 hours of earthquake activity. This is the all magnitudes map. The 3.6 struck down here just off the Elsinore fault system, right around the west of Borrego Springs. It was felt pretty broadly. Let me check out the Did You Feel It reports here. Pretty deep though, about 10 kilometers or so within that area of California. Here is the Did You Feel It reports on the 3.6. Felt down to San Diego, Oceanside. A good area of Southern California did report some very light shaking, very weak to light shaking, and that popped up around 3. What time was it? I was awake at that time, so I just couldn't sleep. I was up from like 3 to 5 a.m. this morning, and I'm not for sure why. Just couldn't sleep at all. But I did see that come in. It was around 3 o'clock or so in the morning time frame. Let's see. Yeah, so we've seen a little bit of aftershock sequences following this 3.6. Looking at a couple ones and some smaller quakes in the mix next to the what is that? Vulcan Mountains. Again, west of Borrego Springs. Ramona sits down here to the southwest, kind of just up there in the mountain ranges. Again, right off the Elsinore fault system. There's a couple segments that run through here, and kind of a overall sign of general seismic increase along the west coast. Of course, remember we had some activity up here on the Rio Vista fault there outside of the Bay Area. Some movement inland, Ridgecrest area. This is the 2.5 and above for the last 7 days or so. So generally quite a bit of noticeable increase in pressure here along the west coast in that time frame. What do we got right now? A couple earthquakes outside of Victorville, Barstow area, 1.8. This one pretty shallow. Looks like that struck on the Linwood Lockhart fault zone, south of Barstow by about 10 miles or so. As far as the San Andreas fault, we haven't seen too much activity following that one little quake here yesterday. Very close to the southern segment there around the Salton Sea area. That one 1.7 at 3 kilometers. So got to watch this. If we start seeing some swarming around that area, I would be on guard for sure. But then again, we don't always see swarms before big ones hit. Just kind of could be a telltale sign though when swarms do kick up. 50-50 shot. Eventually it's going to happen, right? Ridgecrest 1.4 earlier. Actually within the last hour it looks like. Nothing big going on there. Currently just a little filling in of aftershock sequences there following the earthquake activity back in 2019. Some movement up here in the Tonopah area. Again, some aftershock sequences following that 6-pointer that struck, I believe it was in 2019 as well, or early 2000. Let's see. Bay Area today looks pretty quiet. We've got one earthquake here. Looks like within that region of where the 4-pointer struck here a couple days ago, the 4.1. 1.9 within the last yeah, that was late last night. It looks like 16 kilometers, so nothing really kicking up overnight in that area or this morning. Northern California, not a whole lot going on. Look at this around Cobb Mountain. Normally we see this fill in pretty significantly, but I don't know, did they stop reporting this altogether? I'm gonna be searching into that here. I give them a couple days leeway just to maybe fix any issues or whatnot, but I'll pull up the live, I'll pull up some recorded seismographs there and we'll see what's going on here tonight. Western part of the or northwest area looking pretty quiet aside from some minor activity around Mount Rainier and Mount St. Helens region. Not a whole lot going on through the Wyoming area. Salt Lake City had low activity around this region. That also seen, I believe it was an upper 5 or a lower 6-pointer back in 2019 as well. Remember, aftershock sequences can go for years down the road. We see that with the Ridgecrest activity, and sometimes we still see that activity around other areas that seen some large earthquakes in the past. So kind of goes hand in hand, right? Aftershock sequences following earthquakes of large size, even years later. So that's kind of what we were looking at this morning. Near the Salt Lake City area, Utah, 2.5, the largest quake in this little aftershock sequence in that region. Texas looks, well, what do we got here? A couple 2s. Got to zoom in here to see this, the full multitude here. It looks like it's starting to amplify a little bit again today. A couple 3s kicking up here in this morning's time frame. Oklahoma filling in as well. I was kind of watching that. We haven't seen anything in the 4.0 threshold, but getting some 2s and 3s kicking up here north of McAllister. A couple outside of the OKC area, 1.4, and just south of Enid, 1.2. Otherwise, a couple spotty earthquakes and some quarry blast in the diamond-shaped symbols there. New Madrid zone looks pretty quiet along the eastern coast as well. Puerto Rico, not a whole bunch going on there, just a couple scattered earthquakes this morning. And still seeing that line of activity here along the Middle America Trench down into the Peru-Chile Trench, where we've seen a 5.3 overnight that kind of kicked up here into the subduction zone. Little deeper earthquake activity there in the South America region. Some movement also around the Fiji Islands area. Seen some pretty deep earthquakes kick up once again overnight, and this morning's time frame latest shows a 4.9 in the Vanuatu area at 208 kilometers. Prior to that, a whole bunch of deep earthquake activity back here west, or east I should say, with general plate dynamic movement here headed west. Continental movement here kind of shows the general direction of the plate, Pacific plate, and the boundaries and the subduction zones as such, and kind of just a general movement of the plate dynamics. There's a couple other ones that I can pull up, but this here kind of shows the transform fault here along the west coast and subduction zones there, and the arrows got the spreading center out there in the ocean with the Nazca and the Pacific plate. And it seems like we're getting a lot of action here to the Fiji Islands area. Of course, this is in a very dynamic range, and again, general plate motion here doesn't show it on this map, but there's arrows. It kind of gives the direction as a whole when it comes to the movement of the plate, and this kind of goes to the west northwest in that fashion with the subduction zone activity there, and that would kind of explain. I want to show you guys the 4.5 and above map over the last 30 days. We've seen quite a bit throughout the Fiji Islands area and the Indonesia area, all up and down the Pacific plate, except for the west coast. I mean, I don't get it. We had a 4.1, yes, around the Bay Area, but I know slip accumulated stress isn't a super duper high around here, but man, it's been awfully quiet here, folks, along the west coast California region, and down in Baja California as well. I know we've seen some lower grade 4s in here. EMSC model, the European model, showed us that, but USGS not showing anything below the 4.5 threshold. I just kind of wanted to show you guys a little quiet zone out here along the west coast. It's been like that for quite a while. Eventually that's got to change. It's going to give. Let's see what else we had. We had a earthquake in the Japan region, just to the northeast of Taiwan here. This one originally, I believe, came in as a 5.9 earlier this morning, downgraded to a 5.6. A little bit of other earthquake prior to that. Looks like we had a little foreshaker there, 4.7, within this region, close to the East China Sea there. And some movement outside of the Philippines there along the Philippine Trench again. This area has been a pretty good hot spot of activity Looking at the last 7 days, 4.5 and above. Actually, we got to go the last 30 days here. And even then, it doesn't show all the swarming activity that we've seen over the last couple months here within this area. Of course, we did have some 5s and 6s there in the mix, including that 6.1. Struck up here around Manila. That was back on the 21st of May, so very active zone in terms of earthquake activity and high accumulated stress rate. Slip rate. Alaska, some movement up and down this Aleutian Trench again, although it looks like, let's go back to 2.5 and above, kind of looks like the majority of this activity died off last night after the update. I haven't seen any further 4s or 5s in this region since then, since last night. Still showing up here on the map because of the 24-hour period. What do we got here for Hawaii, southeastern region of the Big Island? Looking a little spotty today, a little bit more movement up around Mauna Loa, up in the, looks like right around the crater area as well. Got a 1.9, pretty shallow earthquake movement. The swarming has kind of died off a little bit here in the southeastern region. It comes and goes, very typical fashion for this type of event. Today just looks like one of those quiet days there on the southeastern region of the Big Island. Yellowstone National Park, not a whole lot going on here, folks, overnight. Just, yeah, just not a lot. Looks like we've seen the, there's going to be the 5-pointers, it looks like maybe distantly in the South America region, also over there around Japan, showing up on that seismograph station. Not a whole lot of S waves kicking off from those earthquakes, and a lot of times those smaller quakes, 5.6 won't really produce a significant S wave across the globe. Gonna have somewhere around the upper 5s, lower 6s, and of course above to get that fashion going, to get those S waves moving across the Earth. Let's see what else we got here. Trying to think if there's anything else I was going to cover. I could have swore there was something I wanted to mention here. Let's see, space weather is looking pretty darn quiet right now. Looks like these guys are still forecasting 50% chance of a C flare, but man, there's just not a whole lot of potential right now. The sunspots are kind of heading away from us. There's maybe sun development on the far eastern side of the sun over here, but yeah, it just doesn't look like a whole lot of potential though in the coming days, so we'll keep an eye on it for sure. I'm going to bounce out of here, folks. It's Friday. Hope everyone enjoys their day today. I want to check out real quick though. This is tremor activity from last night, 209 epicenters. Still kind of continuing here into the Cascadia. But I do want to check out volcanic activity here around Mount St. Helens once again. It has been pretty active with microquakes. We're going to check that just to make sure. See if this is ongoing or if it's completely stopped or if it's increasing. Something to watch pretty closely here. September lobe. Yeah, it's still going. Definitely ongoing, folks. As usual, quite a bit of earthquake activity overnight. Newberry Volcano down in the Oregon region. I want to check that out as well. I don't think we checked that out last night. I do want to keep an eye on that area. On the north rim of the Newberry Volcano there in Oregon. I tried to get over there during the winter time, but of course it snows quite a bit there, so we didn't make it very far up in that region when we were checking out the Three Sisters area. This one's pretty well amplified in terms of monitoring any type of small quakes. Looks like there's a little bitty, very small one. Those are even smaller than the ones happening there at Mount St. Helens. So as far as seismic activity goes, there's not a whole lot there at the Newberry Volcano. All right, guys, we'll chat to you a little bit later tonight, of course, with the update on our Friday night show. In the meantime, stay safe out there. Have a good day. And looks like we got some rain coming in here to California tomorrow. Even here in Northern California, we go from about 100 degrees down to about 80 with a little bit of rain in the forecast. There's not much, but rain in June for us is pretty rare. I know a lot of the areas around the states there get their summer thunderstorms and whatnot, but here rain out here in the summertime doesn't happen too often, but I will definitely welcome it with open arms and appreciate it, whatever we get, that's for sure. Have a good day, folks. We'll chat to you around probably about 7 o'clock West Coast time tonight for the update. Take care, everyone.